Welcome back to the program. The NUGS president, Tremor Pong Daniel, has joined me in the studio. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you.
How are you doing this morning?
Fine, by grace.
Yeah? You have a lot to say on some of the things happening in the country. Let's start with the education in the sector, of course. The ongoing strike, which was suspended about a month ago. And as we speak, there's a meeting ongoing, or there are a series of meetings ongoing to seek some sort of conclusion to this matter. But what is your assessment of the situation?
All right, we want to extend warm greetings to the over 12.5 million Ghanaian students who are watching this show. I know a lot of our students are following, wanting to hear a lot happening in the educational sector. I've always opined that, especially in an election year, whatever thing that decides election mostly has to do with education. Right from some years ago, we had FQ, we had the introduction of free senior high school, we had a lot of introductions when it comes to education. So education is a key priority that the National Union of Ghana Students doesn't joke with. As our motto goes, education is a right and not a privilege. I think we are at a point worried at the consistent strike actions that is happening over the past years. It's not just this year alone. Almost past 10 years plus, we've been having consistent strike actions from these teacher unions, which is very detrimental to the progress of our education in this country. So as the student front, that are direct benefits of our educational system, we sit back and we find it very problematic and quite distressing, especially when we come to school to study and then you sit back and within a short while teachers are going on strike, within a short while others are also going on strike. And it's worrying, and it's becoming more or less like a political thing, that at a point people who are leading some of the unions take an entrenched position even after consistent meetings or not. It's very detrimental to our front. So one thing we've been pushing over the past years is the non-politicization of our educational system. We feel that if you are politicizing anything in this country, one of the key places that should not be politicized is our educational system. And immediately the educational system is politicized, it affects the very fabric of our young people in this country, because the general transformation and metamorphosis happening when it comes to shaping the minds of our young people all has to do with education. So in case immediately we find a hitch with the educational system, it affects all young people in this country. So whenever there's a strike, it's something that keeps us worried.
So as we speak, the teachers are back in the classrooms, pending a conclusion to the meetings. Is that correct?
Yes. So I visited the ministry, I think, last 2 days. I think upon getting there were a lot of consistent meetings, and it stayed throughout the night. It started around 10 to even the late evening 8 there, which clearly tells you that at a point they are also not sitting aloof in watching these things go, because
the ministry, you mean?
The ministry,
okay. The Ministry of Education.
Exactly. I went there to monitor most of the things happening, because we didn't want to sit back and always come to the media, and now we are calling. We want our teachers to get back, not take an entrenched position. I went there to make an inquiry on a swift measure that could be put in place to get our teachers back. So when I went there, fortunate enough, all the union leaders were there to sit with the Ministry of Education, Director General of Education, and all the others to find practicable measures in solving the solution. We feel that this is long due, that we should have a permanent solution to this. We shouldn't be having a lot of consistent strike each and every year, because next year is going to happen again. The next 2 years is happening again, and we tend to politicize everything. So I feel there should be a roadmap, there should be a plan that will help curb this particular thing once and for all, because it doesn't happen in other jurisdictions. So why is it always happening in Ghana? We could find an antidote to this particular issue, and I do believe if that is done, we'll go a long way in helping. And it's not just the ministry, the teacher unions as well. I think we should be able to, as stakeholders, sit and then fine-tune a plan so that these things doesn't reoccur again. Because it said if two elephants are fighting in the forest, there's grasses that surface.
In this case, you are the grass. But have you had any engagement with the teachers' unions so far? Have you had any conversations with them?
All right. So when it started, especially with the basic school, we started engaging some of the teacher unions, 1 or 2 of them, to find out what is really happening. And at a point, some of them have genuine issues that they feel should be well addressed. But amidst all these particular worrying issues that I feel the ministry is also having 1 or 2 issues they are also encountering. For us as students, we always take a biased position that if for nothing at all, things should be right so that education could continue. So we've been engaging them whenever there is this issue. Almost every student in Ghana is calling our office to find out the next steps the National Union of Ghana Students is taking to ensure our teachers are getting back. As a union that believes in stakeholder engagement, swiftly, always I'm at the Ministry of Education almost each and every time to find out what is happening, to send issues worrying the student front. And good enough, we've had a ministry that at a point is ready to accept most of the worrying issues of the front.
Right. Let's shift our focus to this national service scheme. In the Vice President's flag bearer of the NPP's bold solutions for the future, he said that he wanted to make national service optional. But a few days ago, the President launched a 10-year policy framework for the national service scheme, saying that as it stands, the personnel are underutilized. And you have something to say on that front.
All right, so we've had our own take on the national service brouhaha, because we feel that, you see, when we get to a time where national service, though we love the optional idea, but
you do?
At a point, yes, but we have our own suggestions to the optional. Because it's made that today myself, Chairman Upon Daniel, sitting here, enters and then becomes thoroughly optional for me. Most of our Ghanaian students will not want to engage themselves in national service. And as we are making provisions that in case myself, I complete school, I get a job, and I make presentations that I've gotten this particular job, then there are exceptions for those special groups of people. Else, we might get to a stage in our country where the spirit of volunteerism, the spirit of patriotism will all leave our young people, especially in our current situation, which is very detrimental. We have, most of our youth don't want to volunteer anymore, and even give out their all in helping. And the main reason why most of these things were initiated was that we institute or we inculcate that sense of patriotism, that sense of volunteerism. We've been having a lot of worrying issues, especially when one gets a job or one is even traveling out of the country and all that and need the national service, the national service certificate becomes key thing that will augment whatever thing they are doing. We always opine that it should be an option. So when these things are coming in of making it optional, what we understand is that there should be a section where if you're having a job, if you're having anything you want to do, you present those tasks and then you are exempted. But
I think that's what he meant. That's what Baumia meant.
We are making it general that imagine we are all done, I can decide to do the service or not.
Okay.
And if that door is open, we'll have a lot of our students out there who on a normal day will not want to do. And when it comes to the underutilization of national service personnel, trust me, now, most of our service personnel will want to be having all their service at Ghana Gas, Ministry of Finance and all this. So you get to some of these places and most of these service personnel are sitting outside doing nothing. So I understand the President's take on the underutilization of the national service in this country. I feel one key area that we are not focusing much of our attention on is agriculture. Okay. So on our education conference on Monday, one thing we'll be proposing is that the agriculture bit of our education should be made key. As we are focusing on STEM, we should have STEAM, which have science, technology, engineering, agriculture and mathematics. We should have that said, because if we want to change the very fortunes of our country, one of the key things or one of the key areas we should focus on is our agriculture. And that is what the national service scheme should also be tuning the minds of service personnel who want to have service in that particular sector at school. We've had that mindset that right after school, you should find yourself in a very comfortable job, sitting under the air condition and all that, forgetting that that particular area, if probably we've psyched this up, we could also send personnel, we could also develop our personnel through that very avenue in changing the very fortunes and economy of this country.
Were you engaged? Did the government engage you before forming this policy framework? Was there any kind of engagement at all?
We were at the launch of the program.
Oh.
Yeah, we were invited to be there to witness the policy and everything. But we didn't have any thorough engagement with us on our take on what will be inculcated or what is forming the framework of the policy that was coming up.
But what's your take on the policy itself?
Do
you think that it's a step in the right direction? Because again, you mentioned that you agree with the President that the personnel are underutilized. Of course, a lot of people don't want to go and serve in, the CNC somewhere in some village where they don't have access to internet and good roads and stuff. So what's your take on it?
All right, so I connect with what the President said, that at a point, you see, most of, you see, when the vice president made an announcement on national service being optional, a lot of our national service personnel and most of our students were happy. Why? Because when they get to these places, they are not doing anything. Most of these national service personnel tend to be people others have been sending to buy stars for them, delivery guys and all those kind of things. So if possibly, we clearly understand the underutilization.
Okay,
so if you are making, there should be provisions. That is why the policy is suggesting that most of there shouldn't be a chunk of our NSS personnel all centered in Accra, the ministries. Nobody will want to get to those places. You see, when you travel to some of the villages, it has no national service personnel there. When you travel to some of the areas, it has no national service. When you get closer to national service per their data, sometimes most of the companies, IT companies and all the others need service personnel who could work there, but everybody wants Ghana Gas, everybody wants Ministry of Finance. So the underutilization then comes in. So if you are bringing up a policy that will help with the proper segregation, that will help with the proper segmentation of these national service personnel to specific areas that needs our services, I do believe productivity will also go high and also serve the main purpose why the National Service Scheme was established.
Before we talk about the NUGS Education Conference coming up, I just want to clarify that not only do they want to disperse personnel into appropriate places or places where they need help, but they want to offer mentoring, training, and some other skills training, IT skills training, which is something that doesn't exist. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the question I was asking, whether you think that this is a solution to our problems, the problems of national service personnel?
All right. So when you get to national service, even currently I noticed they've started some IT trainings and all that. You see, I feel we've gotten to that stage in life where we would have to critically and intentionally equip our youth coming up. Because here is the case, one finishes NSS, you get closer to the person and there's nothing to write home about. So if we are going to put such strategic initiative to train, to equip the young one, then trust me, even after completing and you have no job, you equipped with one or two skills that could help you maneuver your way through this difficult moment we find ourselves in.
Right. So now tell me about this NUGS Education Conference.
All right, so the NUGS Education Conference is a program that we are trying to engage various sectors, especially in our educational sector, to voice out most of the worrying issues affecting us in our educational sector and also know what is really happening in our educational sector. We had the first one in Kumasi at KNUST, where we invited over 2,000 plus student leaders from different places, from senior high schools, from tertiary, from teacher trainees and all that, to come and engage the ministry on happenings in our educational sector. We feel this being a strategic year, we should have strategic meetings with every stakeholder in this particular country. So soon, we'll be engaging the Ministry of Education, we're engaging the Ministry of Energy, we'll be engaging the presidency, we'll be engaging even presidential aspirants who are running for various positions, because always is the youth who's been deciding the elections of this country. So it will be very imperative we set up the stage to have them engaged. Then student leaders could then point out what are the new things that are coming into our educational sector. What is the new development that is coming, especially when we sit in a country where a statutory funds that funds education in this country has been capped, which is the GET Fund.
Yeah.
We still stand on our feet
How
to clearly say.
How is that going?
Still, we are still pushing, and during the educational conference, we are going to hit on it.
Okay.
The next time we'll be in the street, we'll be picketing and telling the government and even policymakers why we should uncap GET Fund, because that's the main statutory fund that is funding a lot of things happening in the country. I see a lot of people speaking about classrooms under trees. I see a lot of people speaking about a lot of happenings, though we are seeing a lot of development in our educational sector. If we don't uncap GET Fund, it will be very difficult to see a lot of development happening in our student front. And we want to send it clearly out there that the student front, we are never quiet. Whenever there's any worrying issues, we'll never take a certain position that will benefit anybody. Once there's any worrying issue, we'll be very strong, fearlessly speak at those issues to ensure Ghanaian students are okay.
So you've been very vocal about, GET Fund, these teachers strike. I keep seeing your name pop up in articles about how you want to make government do right by students.
Exactly. I mean, if by the time I'm leaving office, if I should be remembered for one thing, I think one thing I want to be remembered for is I played a pivotal role in the uncapping of GET Fund. And I want to send it across. The student leaders or every student in the country is never going to sleep. We are not going to sit aloof until GET Fund is uncapped. Immediately, the reason why we are very passionate about the uncapping of GET Fund is that in the old days when they were establishing Get Fund, NUGS played a fulcrum role in its establishment. So the main reason why we established it was basically to support our educational system, serve as a shock absorber to our educational system. But here we get here today and something different is happening, we've capped it. So one of the key things we'll be focusing on, especially during the program that I'll be speaking of, it's about the uncapping of Get Fund. I want to also give the various sectors an opportunity to enlighten Ghanaian students on what is happening in the educational sector. And good enough, anytime you go there, they are ready to accept us. Anytime we send our issues, they are ready to listen. We'll be coming up with huge issues.
Right.
We'll be coming up with more issues in the coming days. It's happening on the UPSA campus, on Hine Konadu Auditorium, exactly on the 22nd of April, which is on Monday, 8 a.m. And we are expecting all students to come there to engage the ministry. This is not just the normal talk where we invite people to just come and speak and then they leave. We will be engaging the Minister for Education, Director General of GS. There you have it on your screen. So
exactly. I'm sure they'll put it back on the details on the flyer. The Capitals Edition NUGS Education Conference. This is the second time you're doing this, right? Happening at the UPSA Auditorium, you say?
Yeah.
Right.
So we'll be inviting all these speakers. We'll be speaking on national service. Now, a lot of our students are asking questions on national service. By inviting the Executive Director of National Service. Students can now boldly get closer to these stakeholders and then ask whatever question that is worrying them. Always it's been us. This particular time, I want to give them an opportunity to ask genuine questions that is worrying them. Issues on free senior high school, issues on tertiary education, issues on accommodation, and other worrying issues affecting our students. So we are inviting all students, we are inviting all media stations, including Joy News and all the other media stations, to be there and cover this particular event. And we are hoping that even in the coming days, we'll be able to change the fortunes of our educational sector. Well,
congratulations, Chairman Opong. You're doing great.
Thank you.
So you mean all students, junior high, senior high, tertiary?
All students, Since NUGS captures every student in Ghana, so we are inviting each and everybody to be there.
Thank you. Well, thank you
welcome
for doing this. Stakeholder engagement is always important in national development agenda. So do well to attend. It's the NUGS Education Conference happening next week, Monday, at the UPSA Auditorium. But there's still more to come. We'll hear from SOS Children's Villages. It's been a transformative force for 50 years, providing crucial support and care to vulnerable children and families across the nation. So we'll tell you how to support them on this feat and ensure it works better. Stay with me.